August 20, 1966, Vintém Hill, Niterói, Brazil. A teenage boy was flying his kite on a beautiful summer day when he stumbled upon something that would haunt him forever. Two bodies, lying side by side, perfectly arranged. They were dressed in matching formal suits and waterproof raincoats, as if they'd been expecting rain. But it was a clear, sunny day. Their watches had been carefully removed and placed in a plastic bag beside them, and covering their eyes, homemade masks made of lead, the kind meant to shield against radiation. When police arrived the next day, they found something even more disturbing, a notebook with a message written inside. 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules, after effect protect metals, await signal mask. Ingest capsules, protect metals, await signal. What signal were they waiting for? What were they protecting themselves from? The police searched for answers, but there was no violence, no signs of struggle, no obvious cause of death. The coroner couldn't determine how they died because the bodies had decomposed too much for a proper toxicology report. And here's what made it even stranger. Both men had plenty of money in their pockets. One had 4 months' salary in cash. This wasn't a robbery. This wasn't murder for profit. Then witnesses started coming forward. A woman claimed she saw a round orange UFO hovering over Vintém Hill the night the men died. Others reported seeing strange lights, blue flashes in the sky. Were these men trying to contact something? Aliens? Spirits? Or was this an experiment that went horrifically wrong? This is the lead masks case, one of Brazil's most bizarre unsolved mysteries. 2 electronics technicians who climbed a hill with a plan, wearing lead masks to protect themselves from something. They never came back down, and to this day, no one knows what really happened on that hill. Let me take you back to August 20th, 1966. Niterói, Brazil, a coastal city just across the bay from Rio de Janeiro. It was a Saturday. Bright, sunny, perfect weather for a teenage boy named Jorge da Costa Alves to fly his kite on Vintém Hill. Vintém Hill was a popular spot. Not too steep, not too remote. Locals would hike there, picnic there, enjoy the view of Guanabara Bay. Around midday, Jorge was walking up the hill when he noticed something strange in the tall grass about 300 feet from the main path. 2 men, lying on their backs, side by side, perfectly still. At first, Jorge thought they were sleeping, or maybe sunbathing in those formal suits, which would be odd, but people did strange things. But something felt wrong. The way they were positioned, the stillness. Jorge ran down the hill and told the first adult he could find. That person contacted the police. Here's where the investigation gets its first red flag. It took the police an entire day to reach the bodies. A full day. The terrain wasn't that difficult. The bodies weren't that far from the path. But for some reason, bureaucracy, lack of resources, or just plain incompetence, the police didn't arrive until August 21st. By then, the bodies had been decomposing in the Brazilian summer heat for at least 3 days. When investigators finally reached the scene, they found something truly bizarre. Let me describe exactly what they saw. 2 men lying flat on their backs in the grass. Their bodies were parallel to each other, about 3 feet apart, as if they deliberately positioned themselves that way. Both were wearing identical dark formal suits, the kind you'd wear to a business meeting or a funeral. Both were wearing waterproof raincoats over their suits, despite the clear weather. Their watches had been removed and placed carefully in a plastic bag beside them. An empty water bottle was nearby. The brand was identified later as one they'd purchased earlier that day. And most bizarrely, covering each man's eyes were homemade lead masks, fashioned from sheets of lead cut and shaped to fit over the eyes like goggles. Lead, the metal used to shield against radiation. Why would 2 men need protection from radiation on a sunny hillside in Brazil? Police found other items at the scene, a small notebook with cryptic messages written inside, some money. One man had the equivalent of about 4 months' salary in his pocket. The other had cash in a plastic bag, a towel, damp, folded neatly. And that's it. No weapons, no drugs visible, no signs of violence. The men were identified quickly through their documents. Manoel Pereira da Cruz, 32 years old. An electronics technician from Campos dos Goitacazes, a city about 180 miles north of Rio. Miguel José Viana, 34 years old. Also an electronics technician, also from Campos dos Goitacazes. They were colleagues, friends. And according to those who knew them, they were interested in something most people dismissed as fantasy. They believed in contact with the beyond. To understand what happened on Vintém Hill, we need to reconstruct the last few days of Manoel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana's lives. August 17th, 1966, Thursday morning. The two men told their families they were going to São Paulo, a major city about 270 miles away, to buy electronic components and supplies for their repair business. This wasn't unusual. They often traveled to larger cities to buy parts. They left Campos dos Goitacazes around 9 a.m., taking a bus toward Rio de Janeiro. They told their families they'd be back in a few days, but they never went to São Paulo. Instead, they got off the bus in Niterói, the city right next to Rio de Janeiro, at the foot of Vintém Hill. Why lie about their destination? What were they really planning to do? Around 2:30 p.m. that same day, a bartender named José de Oliveira Conceição saw two men matching their description stop at his small bar. They bought a bottle of mineral water. They seemed calm, normal, not distressed or frightened. One of them asked for directions to Vintém Hill. The bartender thought it was odd. Vintém Hill wasn't a tourist spot, just a local hill with some vegetation, but he gave them directions. That was the last confirmed sighting of Manoel and Miguel alive. According to the timeline investigators pieced together, the two men climbed Vintém Hill sometime between 3 and 4 p.m. on August 17th. They found a secluded spot about 300 feet from the main path, hidden from view by tall grass and vegetation, and there they prepared for something. In the notebook found at the scene, investigators discovered several entries. Most were electrical formulas and technical drawings, the kind of notes electronics technicians would keep. But two entries were different, very different. The first note said, Sunday, 1 capsule after lunch, Wednesday, 1 capsule at bedtime. A schedule for taking some kind of medication or drug. But what capsules? And why schedule them so specifically? The second note was even stranger. 16:30, be at the specified location. 18:30, ingest capsules. After effect, protect metals, await signal mask. Let me read that again, slowly, because every word matters. 16:30, that's 4:30 p.m. Be at the specified location. They had a plan. A specific time to be at a specific place. 18:30, 6:30 p.m. Ingest capsules. They were going to take something. Pills, drugs, something. After effect, protect metals, await signal mask. After effect, they expected something to happen after ingesting the capsules. Protect metals. Protect themselves or protect metal objects. From what? Await signal. They were waiting for a signal. From whom? From what? Mask, the lead masks. Protection. Against what? The grammar is strange. Abbreviated. Almost like instructions someone would give to themselves. A checklist for a ritual or experiment. What were they trying to do? Here's what likely happened, based on the evidence. Manoel and Miguel climbed the hill around 4 p.m. They found their specified location. They laid out their supplies, the water, the towel, the notebook, the lead masks. They removed their watches and secured them safely. They put on their waterproof raincoats, despite the clear weather. At 6:30 p.m., as instructed in the note, they ingested the capsules. Then they put on the lead masks, and they waited. Waited for what? We'll never know, because that's where the story goes dark. 3 days later, their decomposing bodies were found in exactly that spot. Whatever signal they were waiting for, either it never came or it came and killed them. The Brazilian police investigation into the lead masks case was, to put it mildly, a disaster. Let me walk you through all the ways this investigation failed. Failure number 1. The delayed response. Police took 24 hours to reach the bodies, despite being notified immediately. By the time they arrived, decomposition had begun. Failure number 2. No toxicology report. This is the big one. When the bodies were examined, the coroner noted that there were no visible signs of trauma, no wounds, no obvious cause of death. The logical next step? A toxicology report. Test for poisons, drugs, anything that could have killed them. The coroner didn't do it. His reason, he was overwhelmed with work. Think about that. 2 men are found dead in bizarre circumstances, wearing lead masks, with a note mentioning capsules, and no toxicology report was ever conducted. We will never know what was in their systems when they died. Failure number 3, the missing capsules. The note mentions capsules. The men were supposed to ingest capsules at 6:30 p.m. Police never found any capsules at the scene. No pill bottles, no empty blister packs, nothing. Where did they go? Did the men take them all? Did someone remove them from the scene before police arrived? Failure number 4, no follow-up. The investigation essentially stopped after the initial scene examination. Police interviewed a few family members and friends, then nothing. No reconstruction of the men's last days. No deep dive into their backgrounds. No serious attempt to understand what they were trying to do. Within weeks, the case was essentially closed, labelled as unexplained deaths, with no determination of cause. But even with this terrible investigation, some facts did emerge, and they painted a very strange picture. Manoel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana weren't random victims. They weren't tourists or thrill seekers. They were skilled electronics technicians with a deep interest in what they called scientific spiritualism. What is scientific spiritualism? It's the belief that advanced technology can be used to communicate with spirits, aliens, or other dimensional beings. Think of it as a fusion of electronics engineering and the occult. According to Elcio Gomez, a friend of both men, they had been experimenting with building electronic devices designed to facilitate contact with extraterrestrial or spiritual entities. In fact, just a few months before they died, they'd built a machine in Manuel's backyard. A device with capacitors, coils, transmitters, components that, according to them, would amplify psychic energy or attract otherworldly signals. The machine exploded. No one was hurt, but the device was destroyed. The men were disappointed but not discouraged. They believed they were close to a breakthrough. Further investigation revealed that Manuel and Miguel were part of a larger community of scientific spiritualists in their region. Electronics technicians and engineers who believed that with the right technology and the right mental state, humans could make contact with beings beyond Earth. They weren't crazy, they were believers, idealists, men who thought science and spirituality could merge. And on August 17, 1966, they went up Vintém Hill to try one more time. So what really happened on Vintém Hill? For nearly 60 years, researchers, investigators, and curious minds have proposed theories. Let's examine them. Theory number 1, drug overdose, accidental death. This is the most accepted theory among skeptics. The idea, Manuel and Miguel ingested some kind of psychedelic drug, possibly LSD, possibly something they manufactured themselves, believing it would help them achieve an altered state of consciousness necessary for contact with spirits or aliens. The lead masks were meant to protect their eyes from the intense luminosity they expected to experience, either from the drug-induced hallucinations or from the beings they hoped to contact. Something went wrong. The dose was too strong. They overdosed. They died. This theory explains a lot. The capsules, the masks, the ritualistic preparation. But it has problems. First, no capsules or drug paraphernalia were found at the scene. Second, if it was a simple overdose, why the elaborate setup? Why the formal suits and raincoats? Third, why were they lying so perfectly still and arranged? People who overdose typically convulse, vomit, or show signs of distress. These men looked like they'd simply stopped. Theory number 2, contact gone wrong. This is the theory preferred by UFO researchers and paranormal investigators. The idea, Manuel and Miguel successfully made contact with something, an extraterrestrial entity, an interdimensional being, some form of non-human intelligence. The lead masks were necessary protection. Whatever they contacted emitted radiation or intense light. The contact itself killed them, either deliberately or as an unintended consequence of the interaction. Evidence for this theory includes multiple witness reports of strange lights over Vintém Hill around the time of their deaths. One witness, a woman living near the hill, claimed she saw a round orange object hovering silently over the area on the night of August 17th. She watched it for several minutes before it suddenly shot upward and disappeared. Another witness reported blue flashes of light. Were these lights real? Or were people seeing what they wanted to see after hearing about the strange deaths? We'll never know. Theory number 3, murder conspiracy. In 1990, 24 years after the deaths, a new theory emerged that shocked Brazil. A man came forward claiming he knew what really happened. His name was Athos Bazzani, and he said he'd been involved in a plot to murder Manoel and Miguel. According to Bazzani, the two men had been hired by a spiritualist group to perform a séance. They were promised money, but the séance was a setup. Bazzani claimed that he and 3 others drove the men to Vintém Hill, forced them up the slope at gunpoint, made them ingest poison, and left them to die. The lead masks and the note were planted to make it look like a bizarre ritual rather than murder. This story caused a sensation. Police investigated, but they found no corroborating evidence. None of the other people Bazzani named could be located. And Bazzani himself had a history of mental health issues and unreliable testimony. Most researchers believe he either fabricated the story for attention or was suffering from delusions. Theory number 4, experiment gone wrong. This theory suggests that Manoel and Miguel were conducting some kind of scientific experiment, possibly involving electricity, magnetism, or radiation, and something went catastrophically wrong. Remember, these were skilled electronics technicians. They knew how to build devices. They'd already built one machine that exploded. What if they built another? What if they brought it up the hill? What if the capsules were part of the experiment? Maybe stimulants to keep them alert or something to enhance their perception. What if the lead masks were protection against whatever their device was generating? And what if the device malfunctioned, releasing a lethal dose of radiation, electricity, or some other force? This would explain the protect metals phrase. They were protecting themselves from their own equipment. But if this is true, where's the device? Police found no electronic equipment at the scene. Theory number 5, suicide pact. The darkest theory, Manoel and Miguel planned to die. The idea, they believed that to achieve spiritual ascension or to physically travel to another dimension, they had to shed their earthly bodies. The capsules were poison, taken willingly. The lead masks were symbolic, protection for the journey ahead. This explains the calm preparation, the formal clothing, dress for the occasion, the ritualistic timing. But it doesn't explain why they'd leave so much money behind. If you're planning to die, why bring 4 months' salary in cash? Unless they thought they'd need it wherever they were going. The truth is, every theory has holes. Every theory leaves questions unanswered. And that's what makes the lead mask's case so enduring. It's a puzzle with missing pieces, and we're not even sure we have all the pieces that remain. Today, Vintém Hill looks much like it did in 1966. Green, quiet, overlooking Guanabara Bay. There's no marker, no memorial, just a hill where 2 men died chasing something we'll never understand. But the lead mask's case has become part of Brazilian folklore. It's studied by UFO researchers worldwide. It's been featured in books, documentaries, podcasts, and countless internet discussions. Why? Because it touches something primal in us. The desire to know what's out there. The belief that there's more to reality than what we can see and touch. The hope that we're not alone in the universe. Manoel Pereira da Cruz and Miguel José Viana weren't fools. They were skilled technicians with families, jobs, lives. But they were also dreamers, believers in something bigger. On August 17th, 1966, they climbed a hill with a plan. They prepared carefully. They followed their instructions. They put on lead masks to protect themselves from something they expected to encounter. And then, silence. A wait signal mask. Did the signal come? Or did they die waiting for something that was never there? We'll never know. The bodies are buried. The families have moved on. The investigation is closed. But the mystery remains. And every time someone climbs Vintém Hill, they wonder, what were those 2 men waiting for? Some mysteries are meant to be solved. Others are meant to remind us how much we don't know about consciousness, about reality, about the universe we inhabit. The lead mask's case is one of those mysteries. 2 men in suits, a hill in Brazil, a pair of homemade lead masks, and a question that echoes through the decades. What were they protecting themselves from? If you've made it this far, thank you for exploring this bizarre piece of history with me. What's your theory? Drug overdose? Alien contact? Something else entirely? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more unsolved mysteries that defy explanation, subscribe to Dark Archives. Because the world is full of stories like this. Strange, unexplained, and endlessly fascinating. Until next time, stay curious. And maybe we're not meant to understand everything.